Hello, good afternoon. Thanks for joining today's webinar. Over the next 30 minutes or so, I'm just going to be giving you a very basic walkthrough into our award-winning platform, Messenger. Good afternoon. Thanks for joining today's webinar. Over the next 30 minutes or so, I'll be giving you a basic walkthrough into our award-winning platform, Messenger. Today's about sharing best practices, walking you through the concept, really so you can make a success of it moving forward. I'm going to start by giving you a bit of a background into our platform. It's an online solution. It's run completely through our website. There's no software to download. There's no contract or tie-in, which is great because it gives you the flexibility to use the system when you have a campaign without the need of paying monthly or annual fees. You top up in credits. You buy in bundles from 100 right through to multi-millions, and we operate a sliding scale with the emphasis around the more you buy, the cheaper it becomes. We do include lots of functionality within the system, most of which is at no extra cost. All of which I'll be able to show you throughout today's demonstration. And as I say, that functionality is really there to help you engage with your customers in a more interactive way and aid better response rates. So the first screen that you see in front of you, this is the home screen. This just covers off some very basic reporting stats over a 30-day window, such as what you might have sent, what you've received. If you've included links into a text message, which we'll cover off later, we can see how many hits those have had. The graph's going to be populated accordingly, and we navigate around the platform using this bar at the top. Just hover over a header, select a drop-down field, and away you go. You do have a breakdown of credits in the far right. One credit represents one message, and then links to our website and support if needs be. I'm going to start by showing you how to create a contact group. Just simply hover over contacts, hit create group. You would give the group a name. I've created one earlier. And once you've created that group, you come through to this screen here. So we've been in operation at Textlocal now for just over 10 years. We've established ourselves as the #1 provider in the UK in terms of the amount of messages we're pushing out, which is sort of circa 40 million. And we're working with just over 110,000 businesses these days. On that basis, we've built up some great working relationships with the UK Tier 1 networks who allow us a number of privileges. The first being the ability to send out a mass communication within a 3-second time frame. It doesn't matter if you send in 1 or 100,000, they would still go simultaneously, as I've said. You are able to personalize your text, so the fields that you can see in front of you is number, first name, last name. That's self-explanatory. Custom 1, 2, and 3, you set the criteria for that. Now, it doesn't matter if you're a one-man band or a multinational business. Using our platform, everybody sees the same interface. So as a real quick example, you might work in the insurance sector. You might want to manage renewals. On that basis, you could load your data in a way that would allow you to send a mass broadcast, something like this. Hi, first name, car registration, custom 1, due to expire, custom 2. Your renewal price is custom 3, for instance. The third benefit that you got is the ability to push a text out from a name rather than a number. So in essence, I could send everybody on today's webinar a text from Textlocal. The concept with that is that obviously you're aware of who Textlocal are, so you're more likely to read that text, which in turn makes you more likely to do whatever the text is set out to achieve. Bit of housekeeping on that though, it is only a one-way communication tool. The reason being is that phones are programmed to understand numbers, so whilst it can be received in alpha, when you try and respond to it, it will always reject as it's looking to send it to a number starting 07. So on that basis, if you do use the send a name feature, you might want to include call to actions within a text, which we'll move on to later. So to get that data into the platform, you hit add, paste, upload. Best practice would normally be to create an Excel spreadsheet. It would be a CSV to be compatible with our platform. You'd have a column per personalized field, so if it was number, first name, last name, you'd have 3 columns. If you weren't personalising it, it was just numbers, you'd just have the one column with your numbers on, but ultimately you'd hit that upload button, upload the file, and the data would be there in a matter of seconds. Next option you've got, and this only works for numbers only. I must stress no personalised fields would work in this option, but you could copy data from wherever it's held in your CRM system, paste it into this box here, and add the numbers. And then, as I'm sure you've already worked out with this one, it's literally adding them in one by one. I'd envisage that you'd use this very infrequently, to be honest. It's something that you might use to add existing groups or create smaller internal groups. Just to give you a bit of advice on what we do with the data once it's loaded into our system, we don't prospect it for any of our own gains, and we're not a data agency, so your data isn't passed on to third parties. We really encourage opted-in marketing, so on that basis we practice what we preach, and all of our data is stored down in Rackspace in London, which is one of the most secure data centers in the world. So that's how you create a group from an existing database of customers that you've built up yourself. Naturally, everybody on today's webinar has aspirations to grow their database, so you'll be competing with like-minded businesses in your local towns, cities, perhaps nationally, who you would love to pinch customers off. So on that basis, you could use something called a keyword and shortcode. Also works great for those of you that are on today that haven't got a database of numbers. Clearly it's very tempting to go out and purchase data. Challenges with that are the data is expensive, the data you source won't necessarily be to your target audience, so it's very difficult to get a return on investment on that. So this is very much slow burn, but it will certainly help you start a database as well as grow one. And what I'm meaning by a keyword shortcode is it's a word that's referable to a business or a campaign on a number that's easier to remember than a traditional 11-digit. So in this example, it's webinar. Obviously that's referable to what we're doing today on a number which is 60777, so you're more likely to remember that, as I say, than the long number. What we now need to do is we now need to think of ways to encourage people to text in. Normally that's done through an offer or a competition of some sort, so text in for a discount or text in to enter this. We can set up settings that would hit them with auto responses within 3 seconds, saying quote this code at the till for the discount, or winner announced shortly. So that'd be one tactic. Another tactic might be you could use it more of an operational tool. So asking customers to text in to register interest in something or find out more about the products and services that you do. And then again, you can hit them with auto responses with more information on links that would take people through to web pages with that, more information on, or documents where they can download brochures, etc. Now you'd set the settings up within the inbox itself. Here's the auto bounce back I've just referred to. Now, ultimately, when people text in, they agree or they've opted in to your future marketing content, as it were. So at various points, you can collate these numbers and reuse them for marketing campaigns. And in theory, it's the low-hanging fruit. They're more, as they've opted in, they know who you are, they're more likely to repeat order with you. Now, as this is a database builder, without this button here ticked, what's going to happen is the messages are going to sit on the inbox. So at some point when you want to reuse them, what you're going to have to do, now it doesn't take long, but it means you're going to have to come into the inbox, click View Inbox where all the messages are stored, and then hit the Export button where they're transferred to an Excel spreadsheet, and then you'd load them in as a contact group like I just showed you. However, you can avoid that process by utilising this button here, Add Sender to a Group List. So what we're saying now is by ticking this, when a message comes in, we're going to strip the number straight from the text message and pre-add it into a contact group. So it's always wise to create a blank contact group with the same name as the keyword, so then you know where the data's come from. You've also got the option to add in custom fields as well, so you could say to people, text the word followed by a name, or text the word followed by a custom field that you could predetermine. What we can also do is, I've discussed, this is an online prepaid system, so naturally you might not always have this running in the background. You've got important tasks going on in your day-to-day roles, so what we can do is we can auto forward any incoming message to up to 20 email addresses of your choice. Then if you need to action anything quickly, you can do. I'm going to ask for some audience participation now. You'll notice I created the test group before, as it were. There was no contacts in there. So for anybody that wants to receive a text and join in the demonstration, if you could now text webinar to 60777, that's webinar, W-E-B-I-N-A-R, to 60777. For those of you that are still unsure, just literally load up a new message in the toolbar, 60777, and then in the message box, webinar. Hit the send button, and I'll just give everybody 5 or 10 seconds to catch up. Okay, great. So I'm hoping that everybody that did take part would have now had their auto response, and that would have been sent within 3 seconds. And as you'll see from the text, it will allow you to interact through links where you can go to a web page and download brochures, as well as clicking a second link to go to a PDF document, which again is one of our brochures. So naturally, we've built our database, or we've loaded our existing database in, so we want to push a text message out now. So if we hover over send, we hit send text message. Whilst I'm here, you see the option to create templates and drafts. So it might be that you have a reoccurring text that you're going to send quite regular. Rather than prepare that each time, you might want to create that template just to speed the process up for you on future sends. We're going to click send text message. Any group that we've created is going to appear on the left-hand side. By putting the blue dot inside the circle, we've now selected everybody in the group. It's worth mentioning you can have as many groups as you want. There's no restriction on there. If you don't want to send to everybody in the group for whatever reason, you can hit this end arrow. It will give you a drop down of all of the people within the group, and then you can select or deselect the people that do or don't want the message. Of course, we're a completely different entity to social media, but our platform will complement social media sites. So you've got the ability to configure our system with Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. By hitting the configure button, you just need to allow us access to those sites. And what we're saying basically is 4 jobs will now become 1. So rather than sending a text to your customer database, then having to go and update Facebook, then update Twitter, it can all be done at the same time once you've sent the message out, which I think is a really nice touch. On the right-hand side, this is where I really now start to show you some key functionality and really what separates us from sort of rival platforms. So we've already discussed what the sender name is. We can change that at any time just by clicking this link. It gives us a drop down of anything we've used previously for easy selection, but if it's not on the list, we can just click add sender and free type what we like in there up to 11 characters. Any template that we've created will appear here. It will keep a selection of the previous 10 messages sent as well. Now obviously we do offer two-way communication tools as well. So you'll notice the simple reply service. What this basically is, we have a bank of virtual numbers that don't exist. Now unfortunately we can't guarantee the consistency of it, i.e. you could use it now and it'll be one number, you can use it 10 minutes later, it'll be an entirely different number. But what it'll do is it'll push the text out from a traditional number, and it will allow the recipient to respond back to you, and the message would go to your inbox where I showed you before, but under the simple reply service. There's an additional premium to this because it is now two-way communication, so rather than costing 1 credit per message like the sender name, it's now going to cost 1.5 credits per message. It may be that you want a more long-term number. Again, there is options on that which we could discuss offline for those of you that are interested. Now we're ready to prepare the text. If I was to do that, that wouldn't be any good because not everybody's name on today's webinar is Andy. So what we would do is we would insert merge fields. Cast your mind back to how I showed you to create a contact group. You just click the button, the system would do a lookup and populate it accordingly. I've obviously created a draft text just for ease for today. Now, let me explain some best practices here for you now. If I sent a text from Textlocal, we already discussed you can't reply. So I'm completely reliant on the customer either coming into store or phoning me or making contact with us in some way. There's no way of me being proactive currently as the text is prepared to influence you to come in and purchase or do whatever it is I'm looking to achieve. A way around that is by utilizing links. Think about it now. If I was to send you a text from Textlocal with a link on it, You saw who it's from, you read the nature of the text. It's human instinct. If you're interested, you will click that link. If you're not, you won't bother, you'll disregard the text. What we can then do for our reporting stats is we can give you stats to say who's clicked that link, what time they clicked that link, the mobile device, but more importantly, the number of that person. So now if I want to be proactive, I've got enough information to take a couple of approaches. I can make a call to these people. It's not a traditional cold call or a hassle call. It's, you know, they're on your opted-in database. They've already interacted through a text message. It's almost a warm lead, as it were. If you felt like you couldn't do phone calls or you didn't have the resource to do so, you could send out a second tactical text message to the people that click the link only, maybe with a further offer on it, encourage them to purchase as a loyal customer. Research suggests on its own, you know, text far outperforms any other communication method. A typical response rate from text would be around about 32%. You compare that to email, which is at 5%, direct mail, which is even less than that. The results are really speaking for themselves. And if we look at the reasons behind that, 97% of texts are read in the first 5 seconds. There's more mobile phones in the world than there is people. But more importantly, there's no spam filter on a handset. So emails have quite robust spam filters these days. They aren't checked as regular. Direct mail will obviously get picked up and just binned. Whereas with a text message, you can almost guarantee that every message you push out is going to get read. So it's the most powerful communication tool in the world. So if we think we've been talking about links for the last couple of minutes, let's explain the links to you. By clicking the Add Attachments and Links button, you've got various options now. So you've got the short link feature. That's very much a link just to your homepage on your website, so it's quite basic. It can just be used more as a reference point. You've got the page link, which takes this a step further. It's creating a mobile web page or a landing page within our system that we will host, and when the customer clicks that link, it opens up information that's relevant to the outbound text message. So it saves people having to navigate and find that for themselves through typically a short link or something. What we've then done is we've evolved that even further. It was always impossible to send documents and files over text message, and to be honest, that was the only thing that email still had over text. But actually, we've been working very hard in our development center. Clearly, we're trying to, you know, constantly stay ahead of the game and evolve the platform. What we've now done is we've replicated that technology onto text message. So what we're saying is you can now attach files, movies, images, documents, you name it. The file size is 10 meg as well, so it's you know, quite chunky. You can click attachment. You can load in various bits of and pieces by clicking the Add Upload File. That will then take you to your computer to load that in. And these are all the supported file types. It's also a great way around the 160 character rule. If your text is going to go over 160 characters, which you can see my template is, ideally what you want to do to maximize your potential for return on investment is fit everything within 160 characters. If you go over that, it will send it as one message, but it's going to charge it at 2 credits per message, which is obviously more cost to the business. Now, obviously, I'm not too fussed today because this is a demonstration, but in a live scenario, what you could have done with this message content now is deleted it, put all that information into, say, a Word document of some sort, saved it as a PDF, then we could have loaded it back into the system and send somebody a one-line text saying, "Hi, Mr. Customer, please click this link." That's within the 160. The customer then clicks that link, and then they can read exactly the same content as we would have included from the outbound text. But obviously, it's much cheaper, and we can now take advantage of the link tracks as well, so we know who's read it and who hasn't. The next option that you've got is the survey tool, which does what it says on the tin. It's very much about engaging with customers for feedback about what they think of your products, your services, etc. You know, it can be one page, it can be several pages. They're all created through our system. Again, we host them. You can have drop-down boxes, multiple choice, star ratings, etc. But it's much more than a survey tool. It's actually used as a data capture form. I can give you a really quick example of a current client that has been using it. I know we've got a couple of people on from the education sector today, but we did a campaign with Hertfordshire Uni over the course of the summer that were running open days. And they were trying to drive footfall to these open days through their database of potential student interest that they've built up over the course of a 12-month period. And they essentially sent them a text saying, please come to our open day, click to register. You click the link, it literally just opened up a very simple page with their logo at the top. There was a drop down for multiple choice for day and time they were thinking of going along. A second drop down for the course that they were interested in. And a series of comment boxes where they left name, surname, address, current school, college that they went to, along with the phone number. They hit the submit button, and through their handset, very conveniently, they'd now just booked themselves onto an open day. And that had all been done in reality within a minute. So the text would have been sent out within 3 seconds. Students clicked the link, they filled out the form, all done and dusted within a minute, and then all of the results and analysis again come back through to the platform, which I can show you where you can pull that information shortly. The very latest development to Textlocal's abattoir of functionality is the ticketing and loyalty system. So basically, what we're saying here is you're able to create one-time tickets, one-time vouchers or loyalty cards through our system and push them out as text in link form as we've just been discussing. That can be redeemed at point of sale. Again, on the loyalty scenario, they can be scanned. The system is very intelligent, so it'll remember how many times it's scanned, and once it's met a certain criteria, it can fire out the code to get the free product or whatever it may be. Likewise, it can be used for tickets. So we're looking at, we already work with a large football club already. We've positioned this to them, and naturally they'll be on a franking machine anyway, so they won't be paying 60p a stamp. But there's scope for them now really to send those tickets out through through a text message rather than the post for less than 5p. So in reality, they're saving 35 to 40p per ticket. And when it's into the many thousands, like this particular instance is, it's a relevant saving really. So that explains the links. Each one of those can be tracked, and I'll show you where you can create those up here in a second. We've already discussed the character limit. We can manually schedule text messages. So we know we're in a meeting this afternoon, that's when we want the text to go out, so we can log on beforehand and set it up to go out at a specific date, a specific time. One thing I will elaborate on that is that that's a manual automation. There is a piece of functionality that we've got, again it's free to use, called the API. It stands for Application Program Interface. In simple terms, it's us integrating our system with yours to enable an automatic process. So if I can keep an example relevant to the audience today, I know we've got a couple of doctors' surgeries in representing the NHS. We do a lot of work with the NHS anyway at sort of national level, and how they integrate the API is basically patient rings up to make an appointment for say this Friday. The receptionist there doesn't even need to touch the front end version that we can see now. They just make it on their internal diary system as they always have done. The code is then written or set up for the integration between the two systems so that the day before our system will go in, it will interrogate that diary system, suck out all the information it needs and push out an automated text message to that patient reminding them of their appointment the next day. So this can all run in the background without any manual intervention, which is a great feature. That's a very basic use, but of course the API can develop quite intelligently for data capture, repeat marketing, etc. We're now ready to send the text. So for everybody that took part in today's webinar, you should very shortly get a text. We're always going to get a confirmation prior saying who it's going from, who it's going to. We now send the text, and as I say, in that 3-second time frame, you should get that message which you're able to interact through. Throughout that part of the demonstration, I've just touched on obviously the mobile pages, the ticketing and the surveys. They've got their own dedicated sections, which is where you would create prior to including onto the actual text here. So if we just take mobile pages as an example, we view all the pages. There's 3 examples here of current customers and how they've utilized it. We'll take Card One Banking as the example. Clearly they do several different types of product. Rather than dropping a link onto their website with all of the information on, They've just created a very simple page that's relevant to the bank account and the application. As I say, that page is hosted by us. Hidden behind here, this Open Your Account Now button will be a URL that would then transfer them when that button's clicked to their website, and then obviously continue the application. Very, very easy to create. You just hit New Page. You get your blank canvas now, where we can put on bits and bobs of colour. We can upload images if we wish. We can put in tables, links to websites. We can align our text, and then we can mess around with the font size, style and shape. If we really wanted to be lazy, we can go to our ready-made websites and we can copy and paste images into here. When we're happy, we just save the page and include it where I showed you previously. The survey system works very similar in that we're creating pages. All we do is we come on to create new survey. As I've said, you can have as many pages as you like here. There's no, again, sort of no additional cost to the amount of pages that you have. We give the survey a title, obviously a descriptor of what we're looking to get from it. And now it really is easy to create. We can have a heading page. We don't have to have a heading page. It's entirely up to yourself. But we can go into Add Item to Page. We can put in titles. We can upload our logos. This is where I was talking before about being able to put in long entry boxes, short entry boxes, drop downs, multiple choice, checkbox, radios, star rating, date picker. If we were to click one, we'll just click single drop down, for instance. We get to give it a title, or this is where we'd list the question. Do we want that at the top? Do we want it at the bottom? When we add it to the page, and we can preview at any time. And then if we did want to add a second page, we literally just add page, and that would then follow on from the previous page. The ticketing system. Now, this is quite intense. Traditionally, we would run a separate webinar for the ticketing system, really because there is a lot more to it, and there is a cost to it. Now, this is a new service to Textlocal. Clearly, we're very keen for new customers to sort of trial the service almost. We're happy to support you on that basis with three-month trials. So for anybody that would be interested in finding out more about the ticketing system, again, offline, if you contact me, we can go through that. We have recorded previous webinars as well. So if you were curious as to the concept, please refer to that on our website and have a listen. Finally, before I let you go, I'm conscious we're coming up to the sort of half an hour time slot now. I just want to show you the reporting section. Here, it's not the most glamorous based on the functionality I've already showed you, but in my opinion, one of the most important parts of the system, because here you're able to cleanse your database as well as proactively follow up on your links. So if we were to click short links, for instance, any link that we've used previously will be listed here. Now, obviously I've used this on a number of webinars, so I'll just click the one that's been used the most. You can see we had 53 hits on there. If I view stats, what it's now going to do is it's going to bring up a plotted line graph, which is really cool because it plots who's clicked and when they've clicked, so we can target people in sequential order. Clearly, we'd want to target people that clicked today before we target people that clicked the next day and the next day and so on. You get a profile of the devices and the screen resolution. And really that information is there for you because we've already discussed the ability to create web pages and surveys. If you know that the majority of your database have got an iPhone, let's say, for instance, you could create the pages to suit iPhones. And also, if you are getting a lot of hits on the websites or the clicks, it shows that your customers like interacting with you that way. So use more and more links if you can. If we were to export as a CSV, which I can't unfortunately because of data protection, but this is on this next spreadsheet. This is where we would get the device, the date and time they clicked, the browser that was used to open the link, but more importantly, the mobile number for us to follow up on. So that's how we would be proactive through the system from our short links perspective. The next report is the group report. So we've just pushed out a group text. Clearly, we want to know what our delivery success is on that. And again, here we're utilizing our relationship with the networks. So this is the text that we've just sent out. Again, I can't hit the check button, unfortunately, guys, because of the data protection. But if I was to do that, it's going to give me a breakdown of what was delivered, what wasn't. What you will notice when you run your own tests is there is an option for pending, and naturally you might be curious about, well, how can it pend if Andy says it, it's going to be sent in 3 seconds. I'm absolutely telling you the truth when I say we send it in 3 seconds, but of course we're reliant on people having signal, having their phone switched on, having the incorrect data input into that particular contact group. So the message would pend potentially for any of that criteria for 48 hours, where we're constantly trying to resend that text for you. If after 48 hours it hasn't gone, we will ping it into an undelivered status. So bear in mind that undelivered doesn't necessarily mean an invalid number. So as a rule of thumb, you might want to, all of that data is exportable. You might want to export that data, keep a record of it. Maybe when you do your second send, cross-reference send 1 with send 2. Any numbers that are repeated across the 2, then maybe make a decision at that point to delete. And then clearly an invalid number, it does what it says on the tin. Please cleanse that out of your database, because it's taking credits off your account and it's never getting to its intended destination. So I think that pretty much concludes the demonstration. Did show you quite a lot of content there, albeit the content I showed you I skimmed due to the time restraints. More than happy for anybody that wants to catch me offline for a more personalised one-to-one demo, whether you want, it's tailor-made to a particular sector, etc. I can certainly share best practices from like-minded businesses. Importantly, we're working across every sector there is these days. I've already said we're working with 110,000 businesses. Working with the likes of Domino's Pizza, IBM, Shell, Google, the list goes on. But don't be fazed by that. We're working with one-man bands. The business was founded on the smaller business and very much continues to remain our heartland. So certainly well positioned to share best practices if anybody should so wish. You're going to get me on my direct dial, which is 01244 573 246. That number again is 01244 573 246. Alternatively, if you'd prefer to email, my email is andy.hemming, that's H-E-M for mother, I-N-G, at textlocal.com, and that's T-E-X-T local.com. My email again, andy.hemming at textlocal.com. Before we break, I have had a couple of questions that have come in, so I'll try and answer as many of those as I can. I think the first one, and in fact the most reoccurring question, was what's the cost for the SMS credits? So we operate a sliding scale. Emphasis is the more you buy, the cheaper it becomes. You're buying the bundles from 100 right through to multi-millions. To give you an idea of scale, it's somewhere between 4.9p and 2.3p. So 100 credits is going to cost you £4.90. 10,000 credits is going to cost you £450. 100,000 credits is going to cost you £2,900. That just gives you an idea of scale, and you can clearly see there that the more you're buying, the cheaper it becomes. Importantly, whilst we're talking about that, generally outside of the ticketing system, or should I say with the exception of the ticketing system, the majority of the functionality that sits in the system is free to use. Really, because clearly we want you to have successful campaigns, because if you're getting a great return on investment, we're building up a great working and long-term partnership with you guys, and it benefits all parties really. Looking through the rest of the questions, I think the majority of them were focused around price. So I'd just like to thank you all for joining today's webinar, and you know where I am if you need me. Thanks a lot. Bye bye.